This is Witch-Based News for Friday the 7th of November 2025. I'm Commander Burr. In Elite Dangerous News this week, the exact date and time you'll be able to access the mystery permit lock system is revealed. FDEV addressed some colonisation concerns following Brewers' Megaship withdrawal plans. The community backlash drives a dramatic U-turn from Frontier on the Dodec monetisation plans, and more. If you enjoy our videos, consider subscribing to the channel and remember to ding the little bell to make sure you see all our content and community posts. And if you'd like to help support our channel, links to our Patreon and everything else are in the description below. The mystery surrounding the disappearance of the scientist Terri Torra and whatever is in the permit lock system of HIP 87621 that will quote blow your mind unquote has been running on and off, mostly off to be honest, since the end of August. It was August the 28th when Frontier first tweeted the words "a secret to be uncovered, a trail to be followed" by a picture of a then unknown comms beacon floating in space. We've linked to a guide to the mystery's current resolution from Canonns research in the description below, but ultimately it leads to a permit lock put in place by the October consortium of companies to stop others from finding or presumably benefiting from whatever it is they've discovered in 87621. The missing scientist, Terri Torra, is an exobiology student. The Artemis spacesuit that is used in exobiology is built by the Supratech company, but it was a financial bailout by the October consortium in 3305 that allowed the Artemis suit, together with its Dyson-like genetic sampler, often referred to as the plant gun, to be developed. At roughly the same time that this mystery trail started, the Artemis spacesuit plant gun received an unanticipated and altogether sudden update from FDEV, extending its scanning pulse range from a paltry 75 metres to an altogether more usable 750 metres. It has therefore been widely believed that whatever is waiting for us at the end of this is something exobiology related. Further fuel was injected into the argument this week when a Galnet News article quoting the October consortium's figurehead Lexi October said, quote, "Our work is legal, ethical and in full accordance with all relevant interstellar directives regarding the study of local flora." End quote. If you've been frustrated by the drawing out of the mystery trail to this juncture, then I come bearing glad tidings. The article goes on to say that October will be granting access to all Pilots Federation licence holders, that's you by the way, on Thursday the 13th of November at 1600 UTC. So this thing in HIP 87621 is what? A new space plant? A newly discovered bacteria? And if it is, why is it so important that all the superpowers want to put down roots near it, and why are October guarding it so jealously in the first place? When the permit opens up on Thursday, it's a given that half the game is likely to engage their FSDs all at the same time to get a lookie at the system. We're likely looking at a server meltdown that coincides with it as we all try and exit hyperspace simultaneously. We have seen this happen before. The previous Distant Worlds expedition brought down the game when 10,000 or so commanders all initiated a jump the moment the event started. And we're just throwing this out there as well. The last time Frontier said you should all be in this place at this time for the thing was HIP 22460. On that occasion we mostly all got killed by Thargoids when Salvation's Guardian fueled Proteus wave device fired and failed, and because of that we ended up with 2+ years of an all out Thargoid invasion of the bubble. In a piece on Galnet News earlier this week, the Brewer Corporation announced that its Trailblazer megaships were being redeployed. The Trailblazer ships were hot dropped into the rapidly expanding bubble at the start of the Trailblazer's colonisation expansion to act as supply points for some of the harder to acquire goods needed in the early days of the expanding galactic front. As we reported earlier this week, Frontier have announced that Trailblazers as a feature will be officially exiting beta next week on the 11th of November, and this ties into the news item from Brewer, who have said that the expansion effort has turned into a network of largely self-sustaining colonies. And as things stand, for the most part, that is true. There are, however, some commodities that remain difficult to acquire. For one, the emergency power cells used in station and starport construction are largely still purchased from Brewer core megaships. The announcement of the megaships reassignment had led to some concerns that there would be a galactic shortage of the vital commodity, that the colonisation expansion efforts and ongoing builds would be affected as a result. Rest assured, however, we've reached out to Frontier and they've confirmed that a solution is in place for EPCs. Following the end of the Trailblazers beta next week, emergency power cells will be available from planetary-based industrial economies. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It's fair to say that this week has been turbulent for Elite Dangerous. On Tuesday, Frontier announced in a YouTube premiere video details of the last new ship to enter the game for 2025, the first details of the highly anticipated promised new feature, and the arrival of a new starport type for colonisation builds. All very exciting, and news that the community had been hotly anticipating for some significant time. You'll find our video about the info drop linked on screen now if you haven't yet seen it. Whilst the majority of the news was indeed well received and very exciting stuff, rumblings began to surface around the business model FDEV were introducing with the new dodecahedron starport, a starport that would be the only tier 3 port capable of supplying the human tech broker station service. Whilst you could only ever buy the Dodec once on any given account, the station was being introduced for a whopping 50,000 ARCs, and it came with a single one-time use insta-build option that would immediately deploy the huge station without a need for any hauling. Any stations you build thereafter, having purchased the unlock, would then need to be built the old-fashioned way. This wasn't an early access purchase either. The Dodec was only ever going to be an ARCs purchase, and a sizable one at that. For many commanders, it meant that they would never be able to own a Dodec. It would forever be locked behind an insurmountable paywall. These facts in and of themselves were a chunky enough pill to swallow, but it was the dawning realisation of what else the station's introduction, along with the business model being used, meant that things started to go downhill. Along with its tech broker and unique visuals, the Dodec station also came with bonuses to the stats of any system it's deployed into, bringing increased levels of wealth, technology development and population. A system's statistics have a direct effect on the background simulation and on power play. Population in particular can mean that influence levels are harder to affect, which ultimately means making any kind of meaningful change to the system to force factions into conflict or states of expansion or retreat, etc. are much harder to achieve. And it's these statistics which are unachievable through the use of any other station, the direct advantage this would bring to the system's architect, coupled with the permanent ARCs paywall associated with the station, that were the problem. This is a gameplay advantage that is only achievable through the use of a fatter wallet. By dictionary definition, this is a pay-to-win mechanic. In a 2019 announcement to the community when introducing the ARCs virtual currency, Frontier had stated, quote, "ARCs can only be used to buy cosmetic game extras and will not be used to introduce and acquire pay-to-win purchases," end quote. The announcement this week was in direct contravention to that statement. Suffice to say, the community was not happy and began to express their displeasure in no uncertain terms through every avenue available to them: Reddit, Discords, YouTube, Twitch, the forums, Twitter, Bluesky and Facebook etc. lit up like Rudolph's nose on Christmas Eve, if Rudolph had flaming red eyes, massive fangs and flames blasting from his nostrils. We ran a poll on this very YouTube channel showing, after some 2,000 plus votes, that 73% of those that responded would either not support paywalled advantages or thought FDEV should stick to the existing early access model. Just 15% of respondents were happy to support the move. After some difficult and lean years for Elite Dangerous, it is somewhat baffling that FDEV would choose to try and go beyond their successful early access model. Early access does at least allow all commanders to eventually take advantage of the items introduced through it. The current business model has proven highly successful for the Cambridge-based development house as well, as is evidenced by the last 2 years of constant and ongoing updates to the game, whether you've purchased any ARCs or not, and FDEV's publicly available financial results for Elite Dangerous, which have seen an almost 150% growth in revenue through early access and paid DLC for the game in the last year alone. Frontier are in no danger of running out of things to revamp, rethink and then put into early access either. It's surely a given that they're likely eyeballing the success that they've had so far and contemplating every varying flavour of ship size, type, style and function that they can think of for a Supercruise Overcharge revamp. The Dodec is the first time they've tackled a starport, but I'd like to believe they're also now contemplating other new station types, spacesuits, SRVs, SLFs, weapons and much more. And the community have proven that they're more than happy to support the game through paid early access to ensure the future development of their favourite space 'em up, as long as it's guaranteed everyone eventually gets access to all the new content, again whether they've bought ARCs or not. The larger worry in all this is that if the Dodec was accepted by the community as a cash only acquisition, then the floodgates would open to every single thing the game has to offer going forward, giving FDEV permission to nickel and dime the game and its community into oblivion. If you haven't been keeping up with events this week, then hopefully by now, rather than falling into a bottomless pit of dark despondency, you will have noted that I've used the past tense to describe most of Frontier's perplexing manoeuvring this week. I'm very pleased to be able to report now that, having heard and taken note of the furious backlash from the community, FDEV have gone back on the decision to make the Dodec an ARCs only purchase, rolling back the permanent paywall. In an announcement to social media yesterday, which you can find linked below, FDEV's community manager Phil W said the following, quote, "We have taken this feedback on board and we will now be releasing the Dodec initially via ARCs early access for a period of time similar to what you would expect from a ship release. After that period, the Dodec will be constructible via in-game means without the need for any ARCs purchase," end quote. And with that, the fire brigade arrived. Here at the Burr Pit, we're delighted that the powers that be have, on this occasion, heard the community reaction, seen sense and pulled back from the brink, but to even attempt such an egregious manoeuvre in the first instance will undoubtedly have damaged the company's hard-fought reputation gains in the elite community from the last couple of years, and left a sour taste in the mouths of many. We'll probably never know the bewildering thought process behind the decision to take all the hard-fought goodwill, support and consumer trust that FDEV have amassed to just set it on fire, but it's likely, we think, that the boardroom, who as a species are only really motivated by spreadsheet results, just wanted to see how far they could push it. Frontier's decision makers being ever on the lookout for a new opportunity to phalanx their own footwear. And just because Zachary Rackham has been caught cackling maniacally whilst drowning bags of trumbles in the river, it doesn't mean he won't try the same nonsense again. Vigilance from all of us in the community going forward is going to be key if we're to ensure that this particular brand of twaddle doesn't try and raise its gnarly head again. It's a crying shame because the Dodec issue completely trampled on all of the other very positive announcements that came out at the same time. The new Caspian Explorer, the NPC AI tweaks and the announcement of operations, all of which we're very excited for. Just as a reminder, Elite Dangerous is going to be very busy in just the 7 days ahead of us. Tuesday will see the patch bringing in quality of life and bug fixes to the BGS, power play and colonisation, and the introduction of the Dodec starport. And as we've mentioned, HIP 87621 will be unlocking for Commander access 2 days later on Thursday the 13th of November at 1600 UTC precisely. How are you feeling now about FDEVs U-Turn on the Dodec station? What other of the updates announced this week are you looking forward to, and will you be jumping into HIP 87621 at 1600 on Thursday? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back later this week with more videos. Until then, 07 Commanders, follow the greens on the way out and do keep clear of the toast rack. We very much look forward to seeing you next time.